Hey, I'm Nigella,
And I'm in Gaza.
and we're both from Brooklyn, New York, but we've been living abroad for like 5 years now. We've been living in Latin America, Europe, Asia, but we're back in Brooklyn for the summer, which is the first time in 5 years.
Yeah. So, since our friends and family want to know what we're up to while we are abroad, we decided to document a series of conversations about our experiences when we travel.
So, in today's conversation, we're going to chat about how our concept of community and friendships has changed since we've been abroad for 5 years.
All right, so let's dive in. I am going to use this for notes to make sure that I get all the questions that we wanted to chat about today. So, the first one we'll jump into is, what does friendship look like abroad?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that first?
Okay. So, how I find friends abroad is through this organization called GGI. It stands for Girl Gone International, and it's this global group. It's all volunteer based and led. And we have communities all on Facebook, all over the world. We have like hundreds of cities. Basically, it feels like I have a Rolodex of friends that I could go to the Facebook group, be like, hey, I'm in Berlin. Does anyone want to meet up for lunch or coffee? Sure. And people always hit me up and like, yeah, let's meet up. So that is like my first go-to for friendships. However, I find that friendships abroad can be a little fleeting and they don't feel like integrated with my day-to-day life because I do travel a lot. Like if I'm in Mexico City, currently it's our home base. People come and go a lot. So I don't really get to make them a part of my everyday life the way I did when I was younger. I also noticed that my relationships are super meaningful. I typically connect with someone who has a similar passion than me. In Mexico City, I was running this meetup group for writers who had these creative projects. And those women were like a group of people who like really connected with the concept of writing their own book from scratch. And we met every week and we held each other accountable. But the friendship didn't extend outside of that passion and interest. But it's really meaningful because I have friends who fit all these different sides of me.
Okay, so I guess I'll answer the same question. I will say that for me, I get this feeling that the friendships are incredibly intense. So we're in the middle of like a hike or some adventure. We're all experiencing something for the first time. You could be meeting somebody in Spain, for instance, like on the Camino. And this is this incredible experience that we've never had before. And everybody's talking and connecting and telling you about things that they have in common, but you may never see that person again. So in a weird way, it's like more intense than a normal friendship or relationship, because everything feels perfect, the stars are aligned, you're vulnerable, you're willing to connect, but there's a strong chance that you may never see that person again. That transient component is definitely a challenge when it comes to having friendships.
Okay, second question. What are the challenges with friendships abroad?
Okay, so I'll get into this. This is pretty, I don't want to say it's a touchy topic, but I definitely feel like it's intense. We've been abroad for 5 years now, so I've pretty much understand the cadence of what friendships look like. You meet people on adventures, you're all having the same experience at the same time. So I think for me, the part that's transient and that's temporary feels like I don't really want to engage in that anymore. So for me in friendships, I have a deep desire to figure out, how can I integrate this person beyond just conversation? How can I make sure that we actually engage in things that we have in common together? However, I don't really want to waste my time exchanging numbers, having an incredible time talking about one thing. I've tried to basically screen the friendships and like really break them down to like the smallest components. Like, what do I want to share with you? What do we have in common? Are you somebody that's vulnerable? Are you going to be able to talk about how you feel? Am I going to be able to utilize this conversation with you or this friendship with you beyond just this intense moment? It's made me a bit more forward in terms of how I present in friendships, especially when it comes to friendships with males. But it's worked for me. I have this funny saying that regardless of the school that you go to or the experience that you have, you may make one or two friends. And it's like held true for me. For elementary school, for middle school, high school, I went to 3 different high schools. For college, I always have like 1 or 2 people that I'm able to maintain those type of conversations with. So I try to typically carry that into each experience or each country, that there's somebody that I'm able to connect with and sort of represents what that place symbolically means for me. And we can maintain our friendship even if it's virtually or over the phone or through Messenger or...
So I have like 3 main challenges, I think. One thing that I think about is the fact that I tend to be a little pessimistic towards these connections, or know they're not going to extend beyond my trip or that like one occurrence. So that makes me a little bit more reserved. I present as an extrovert or whatever that means, and I present as someone who's like pretty charismatic and like likes to be around people, but I do spend a lot of time alone. I'm kind of the one who always wants to go home and recharge alone. So I think for someone that is my default, I have to go extra hard at making friendships and connections. So if I know that this friendship isn't going to last and it's not long lasting, then I don't make as much effort, because in my head I'm like, oh, this is going to be fleeting, this is going to be temporary. However, when I do find a person that I'm like, oh my God, like I love this chick, like I want to be best friends, I hope we can raise our kids together. That's what like I think about. I find myself putting a lot of pressure on that person and having sometimes like unrealistic expectations because it's so intense, and it's almost like you fall not in love with these people, but you find like this deep admiration and respect, especially with women like living abroad and traveling independently. You just want them in your life all the time. I find with my friends at home, I understand their shadow self, right? Or
Like their limitations.
yeah, I understand like
You
their
kind of accept what
limitations.
they are good at and bad at, I guess.
I've accepted them, right? Whereas my friends abroad, I find that when their more human parts of them come out, I struggle with that, which sounds crazy, but it's the truth. And then third, it's really hard for me to say goodbye. I almost would rather not say goodbye and just like leave. Like, for example, I made a really close friend when I was in London, and we thought we were gonna move back to London because we were there for 6 months. And I like miss her so much, and I'm like, oh my God, our budding friendship. And I was just really sad to say bye. And I'm like, I hope we get to connect again. I hope I get to move to London and be friends with her and go to the gym together and go to cafe dates and book studies and all that stuff. So that was really hard. It's really hard to say bye a lot.
Yeah, saying bye sucks. So the next question is, since we left, how have your friendships changed in the US?
They have took a nosedive. For me, again, like I'm not the best at keeping in contact with people. It has definitely always been a struggle of mine, like forever, since high school, college, whatever. I'm a person who does really, really well with in-person contact, like meeting up, going on dinner dates, having people over, going for walking dates. When I was in middle school, like obviously I wasn't going on dinner dates. Or like walks, strolls in the Prospect Park. So I remember talking on the phone often. And then I went to boarding school. So all my friendships are like siblings and very, very close. So the need for communicating via technology wasn't there. We just lived together, which was amazing. But then my best friend in college, we were like conjoined at the hip. I didn't really make any other friends besides her. Like a lot of friendships, but not like close friends. And then post-college, I met new people all the time, but I wasn't really able to make any long-lasting friendships outside of the, like my sisters basically in high school, and then the one sister I made in college, and a couple guy friends here and there. But yeah, I always struggle with it. So living abroad is even worse because I hate communicating primarily through phone. I much prefer rather talking in person. Also, when I'm going through things I don't want to talk, also have learned to appreciate them and put them in the place that they're at. But I would like to work on that in this year, reconnecting with old friendships.
Yeah, so I definitely want to piggyback off what Naji said about the component of like siblingship. I am much more mature, I'm much older. So meeting new friends means there's a ton more in common regarding new interests. Before it was just like going shopping or thinking about basketball, thinking about where we're gonna play. So not that the people weren't dynamic, but I was younger. I wasn't as dynamic myself. So as I've matured and have more interests like hiking or camping or playing guitar, or just wanted to deeply connect over like challenges or, you know, things that you celebrate in your own relationship, found that the relationships abroad are far more dynamic. So as Naji said, the component of feeling like the people back home are siblings and my ability to just like accept them has definitely shot through the roof. I have a tendency to like want to fix things. I have a tendency to want to make everything perfect and like synergistic. I can also be quite heavy in terms of my expectation of friends or in terms of what I want them to be like, or are they adding to me or not? And so being abroad has really made me appreciate the community component of my friends that are here. And I'm just like, I don't have to change these people. Just them being here or just me going to do the same normal thing that we did when we were kids. All those things that are familiar, I think I can really appreciate now more than I ever could. I think those simple components of the friendship definitely bring back that sense of safety and security that I don't think I'll be able to find in new relationships that I meet abroad. On the one end, you have the exciting, new, fun things, a bit more temporary. On the other end, in terms of being back home, it's a bit less dynamic, but it's also more wholesome and you feel closer and more connected to them in a way that you would like a family member. So I guess my community feels like it's expanded, right? I feel like I have like family and people I deeply want to connect with that I really do crave doing those simple things with. I feel like I've been able to create that and embody that more since we've been back.
We love in our relationship to ask, like, would you rather do this or this? We love putting ourselves in hypothetical extreme situations and seeing what we'll do.
So for the first question, would you rather see your friends once every 5 years and you can do whatever you want to do? You have unlimited access to money and resources. Or would you rather see them twice a year for 3 days at a time, and you basically have limited resources, but you do get to see them and like reconnect? Okay. What would you prefer?
I would say that I would probably see them once every 5 years and have like the time of our life. That's kind of what I do now.
I'm trying to think now because like in creating this question, low key, this is kind of like what being home now is for me. So I'm definitely going with once every 5 years. That's crazy though. 5 years is a long
That's
time.
a long
I mean,
time.
it's okay. To be fair, because I do talk to people on the phone and because there's social media, I just got back on social media like a year ago after like a forever hiatus, 10-year hiatus. I would definitely rather do once every 5 years. And 3 months, so that means I can take them along the journey to like all my
3 weeks.
Oh, sorry, for 3 weeks. Okay, so for 3 weeks, I can take them on whatever amazing journey. We can go to some country, or we can do something crazy together. Book a yacht, some fancy hotel or Airbnb.
Every
and
5 years? That's a lot of time.
That's a long time.
All right, well, what's the next question?
I don't know.
We picked.
Okay.
This is my favorite type of question. God forbid any of this happens to us. Say you're traveling and you go on an adventure and exploration, a trip. Would you rather be left behind in the middle of the jungle or be left behind on a boat in the middle of a scuba trip? Don't ask how you got left behind on the boat, but you did.
How do you get left behind on a boat? Oh my gosh.
They're both horrible.
I'm going jungle for sure. Jungle because like I
disagree. I'm gonna say the boat, even though the thought of open water terrifies me, but I feel like it'll have technology on board where hopefully I can like shoot a beacon up or something like that. Sorry.
I'm gonna find the biggest tree and start like, making some spears.
Tarzan.
Maybe try to find some like mangoes or some macadamias.
Of course
to,
you would.
Crack open.
Nah.
All right, it's a wrap, I guess.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining this conversation, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right.